Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Do you have 30 minutes? Then you have enough time to make an interesting, textured, layered art journal page. Art journal success can be yours in under 30 minutes. And one of the ways that you can do that is use prompt cards. Now, these are my 100 Pick a Prompt cards. They're available for purchase from NINNYSNAPKINS. I've printed them off double-sided. You don't have to. There's options. Now you can just flip through that and come up with ideas, get an idea, and that will just jumpstart your creative process. So you're not sitting there in front of the blank paper going, what do I do? What do I do? Or you could do a little bit more like I do. I've created a Playing with Prompts book, and I've glued in the prompts. So once I pick that prompt, what I do is I do a brain dump. I list supplies, ideas, techniques, things that prompt is making me think of. And I write it down and pre-plan. Now, I do this in front of the TV in a downtime when I'm feeling creative, but I'm not feeling creative. You can put quotes in there. This is just kind of getting all those ideas out and on paper. Then, when you want to do that prompt, which could be weeks later, you can open it up to that page and you've got some of that pre-planning already done. Here I've even taken, we've got this collage sheet that I used a new mark maker to create, or I could use that mark maker. This kind of looks like a fishnet since I'm going with starfish ocean theme. And then I have this napkin that is this dark navy blue. It's got stars on it. Kind of ties in with the color scheme that I would put with an ocean themed page. Once I have that plan, whether I did it right before I'm doing the page or weeks earlier, I'm pulling those resources. I've got some seaside printables. I've got collage papers or gel prints that I have starfish cut out. I've got Songs of the Sea stamps. There's a mermaid here that I could tie into this theme. In the past, I've used this snakeskin stencil. And there's this sea creature stencil, both from the Crafter's Workshop. I've got this one in 2 sizes. So I'm just pulling that stuff out. I have a direction and I'm going. So now I'm going to get started and I'm going to start my first layer. I'm just going to peel off the excess plies of this napkin and get some interesting shapes here. I don't like straight edges, so I'm kind of ripping that off. And once that's all done, I am going to grab my fluid matte medium and glue down this first layer. So this layer, I'm just breaking the page. I know I'm going to go blues, greens, kind of water, under the sea color scheme. And having this gives me some texture. When I glue it down, there might be some wrinkles. It's just going to add to the page in a different way. If you're not a subscriber, please take the time to hit that subscribe button, click on the bell so you're notified of upcoming videos. There's usually 2 to 3 tutorials done a week. So let's get back to the page. As I said, I am going to glue my napkins down with my fluid matte medium. Now, this is a composition book. I've glued pages together to bulk up the pages, and I've also applied a coat of gesso. That was done ahead of time. So again, having that done before I even start the page just jumpstarts my process a little bit more. Just gluing these down, it's just going to add some interesting tidbits to my background. Now, I'm going to tape off the top of this book. Now, this is just a composition book, but I don't want it there. Stick it on your jeans, stick it on your sweater, get rid of some of it, turn it into a more low tack tape. This is painter's tape, but I know it's going to rip this very inexpensive paper if I don't get some fuzz on it and make it a little bit more low tack. So we have one layer of color. So now I'm using this snake skin stencil and TCW modeling paste, and I'm going to put this in various places across that. I am not a fan of snakes, but I love using this for pages where I'm doing the night sky, celestial kind of things, or the ocean. It just looks and feels like those two scenarios to me. So that's what I use this snakeskin stencil for. And I'm putting it in various places, and I'm using white, even though I will be colorizing the entire page. But some of that white is still going to show through. I'm using a key card to apply it. I'm not too worried if it isn't a perfect application because it's just a layer. I don't need it to look like anything in particular. It's under the sea, the pebbles, you know, at this point I'm thinking I'm going to put starfish kind of in a tide pool. So there we have all that lovely, lovely, lovely texture, pattern. It's just bumped it up a little bit. This needs to be fully dry before I start colorizing. And I'm using bright aqua, Prussian blue, and Naples yellow. The Naples yellow with the Prussian blue gives that greenish teal color. So I'm just going to apply this. I'm adding a little bit of water here and there, being careful not to put too much because it is a composition book and it's not going to stand up to a whole lot of wet stuff. So I need to be mindful of it. I want different blues, greens, a little bit of gold in there for sand. I'm going for those colors of the sea. So I'm just dipping my finger in and moving it around, blending some to get another tone, leaving some solid, and then coming back over time, adding more depth of color as I see fit. So this is very much an intuitive state. You know, there is no recipe, use, 5 dabs of this and 2 dabs of this. I'm putting it as I go and I'm looking at it, evaluating it along the way. It's right when I'm happy. It's right when you're happy. You can stop at any time, let it dry, use the heat tool to dry it, and then come back and add more layers. Here I'm putting a plastic cutting mat that I got from Dollar Tree underneath just to keep it from the wetness from seeping onto other pages that in this book. As I said, this is my Playing with Prompts book. I am using my 100 pick a prompts in this book. This is where I will use it and create with those prompts, but that's just the way I've chosen to do it. Now, if you purchase my Pick a Prompt pack from Ninny's Napkins, a over hour-long video goes with that pack showing you different ways to use and different ideas of ways of using the prompts to help you grow in your art. So there's a little value added to the prompts. So you get the 100 prompts, which is more than one a week. You got, if you did one prompt a week. Now, my plan was to do a prompt, do it, 2 to 4 prompts every month. And already I have failed. That's okay. The prompt police will not come. Adjust how many prompts you do when you do the prompts to fit you personally. What fits you and keeps you creating is the right decision for you. So I'm not beating myself up that I didn't do, 4 prompts in the month of April. I'm just picking up the book and doing it. So here on the background, I want lighter areas and darker areas. I don't want this all just one tone of blue or one tone of teal or aqua. I like that variation. And I keep playing with that. At times you might see me coming here and wiping something down, using a baby wipe. There I am, just kind of blending it a little bit. But look at the interest. You still see that colored napkin, and it's added some textures and shapes to that background because the paint works differently on it than it does on the texture paste, that does on the gesso page. Here I'm just building up some darker areas because you want that contrast. But I'm loving the background. This color combination is just really my happy place for sure. And as much as I want some dark areas, I also want those light areas, which is why you see me using the paper towel or the rag to wipe it back. Now, once that's dry, I want it a little bit more. So I'm using the Prussian blue and I'm using the stencil as a stencil and targeting areas that are lighter. And then I'm grab some of the white, or I'm not sure if I use the Naples yellow, and I'm targeting the darker areas. I want this to look textured. So some of it is actual texture, some of it's visual texture, which is the stenciling that I'm doing right now. Yes, I'm using Naples yellow here. So this page doesn't look like anything like a snake skin. So when you're creating, feel free to stop at certain stages. There's nothing saying you need to sit down and go from beginning to end on an art journal page in one sitting. Here's the starfish that I decided to use, and I'm thinking I want to add a little more interest to the background. So actually, I was thinking of actually using this stencil, but my background is beautiful the way it is, so I am not going to stencil the mandala on there, but I am just using it as a circle template. I want that star to kind of hang on to that circle. So I took a blue Stabilo All pencil, that is a water-soluble pencil, and I drew that circle because if I get it in the wrong place or I change my mind, I can use a baby wipe and get rid of it. And now I'm using the Prussian blue on my angle brush and I'm, activating the Stabilo, but it is going to be permanent. That circle is going to be permanent. So I'm basically making the circle shape on my background to add a little bit of weight and interest to my focal image, the starfish. And then I decide I'm going to add some white to the outside, just get a different effect. If I did it opposite and did the white on the inside and the dark on the outside, it would give a different look. So play with it, mix it up. But I like how that is looking. Turn the page to make it easily accessible and make your work easy. But you can see how that circle, even though it's the same background as everything else on that page, it just looks like it's kind of 3D now and it stands out. And then, of course, I'm giving that a dry. So while I have my angle brush in my hand, I am going to shade around the edge of the page. I do that on every page. It frames my work. If that's something that you like, you're going to adopt doing this. If it's an effect you do not like, then you can skip this step. As always, I'm giving you ideas. Take and run with whatever ideas make sense to you that match your way of creating, and forget the rest. If they don't make sense or you don't like them, skip it. So my page, my background is pretty much done at this point. So let's start working on the focal image. So I just kind of want to connect that starfish. This is a printable. I don't even know where it came from. I've had it, I have it in my stash. I have a big folder of sea ocean templates. And I'm using some cadmium yellow, some orange, and I'm just layering the colors and seeing how orange do I want to go? What shade? And by mixing the paints, like I'm coming in with some orange right now, adding another layer, it's just, you get a more variation and it's more interesting. Now this is on, it had been printed on very cheap copy paper. So as it dries, it kind of curls a little bit. I'm not quite happy with the color yet, so then I'm going to, I thought, oh, I'm going to shade with my red oxide or it's burnt sienna. Some, depending on the brand, it can be called either. And I'm going to shade around that, and I'm really liking the burnt sienna edition here. So then I decide, I'm going to add that color to the whole thing. Forget the shading. I'm just going to add it. And that's just making the color match the colors of the starfish in my head. If you liked it at a lighter stage, that's fine. There are also purple starfish that grow in and around the Vancouver Island that I've seen. But I chose the orange one here because it's going to really stand out well against the background that I have. The purple wouldn't stand out as much. So that's my rationale, even though I love seeing the purple starfish. And then I'm using black and I'm shading black around the starfish now. And that's just going to make it stand out from the background a little bit more. But we're going to be doing a little bit more shading and edging down the road as I get to the final finishing stages of this page. A lot of this video I've kept in real time. The only things I've sped up is maybe gluing and some of that monotonous stuff where you don't need to watch paint dry. You don't need to watch me glue something down. There's not a whole lot of skill or anything you learn from seeing it in real time. But I do like to do videos every once in a while where it's in real time. So you have an authentic picture of how long it takes to shade the focal image. Because I know when I started and was watching videos, I'd watch videos and it played with my mind because people were completing pages in 20 minutes and I couldn't do it and I was getting frustrated. Now look how that pops off the page and works with the background. I am loving it. I decided I wanted to add some of that burnt sienna to the background. So I grabbed this stencil, and it is also from the Crafter's Workshop, and it's called, let me just grab this here, Full Sheet of Good Words. And I didn't really have a plan. So I'm just stenciling a few of those words onto the background. The plan really wasn't to make it so that it's completely readable, just I wanted some nice words in the background. I wanted that color. And I thought, this is something I haven't done. I love script stamps and text in my background. So I'm just going to do that. I try with every page, do something that you've never done before. You're either going to like it or not. But if you try something different. And this, gave me enough text in the background. It gave me that color. I'm quite happy with it. And it's something that I would definitely do again. And it's a great way of using any of those stencils where you have those words in a atypical way. right? I'm not using it as the sentiment. At this point, I opted to not do it in the circle down below. If I was doing this again, I might have done it before I did the circle on that page. And I may have thought a little harder about the words that I was using. But when you try something new, you learn and you figure out things. And that's what art journaling is all about for me. It's a place for me to try things out and experiment and then use that knowledge in future pages or projects. Now, the word dream there in the middle gave me some ideas and changed what I did with the page. And if I was planning it out, I would have done that a little differently. Here, I'm just splattering with gold. I figure I'm done with the background, but I'm just going to add that little bit of bling to it. And I like using a fan brush to splatter. I find I get the best consistency of splatters, big and small. And after that is dry, I am ready to start. Now, my background's mostly this color. And then if across the color wheel, that's where that orange is. That's where that burnt sienna is. And that's why it looks so good when you put this together, because they are opposite each other on the color wheel. And that's how a good way of choosing your focal image colors a little bit. Now, for the sentiment, I went to my Ocean Commotion sentiment pack. And if you're not familiar, I create a lot of sentiment packs. I do the word art and the searching of the quotes under different themes and put it all together. And you can go to Ninny's Napkins and purchase a sentiment pack. Now you can take these digital sentiment packs, you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. I link to videos where I teach you how to do that. And I'm going through all these ones. Not all stars belong to the sky. I'm auditioning it with what I have gotten going on. The waves of the sea help me get back to me. So they're done in different fonts. We dream in colors borrowed from the sea. And that one really resonated with me and that page because I'm loving those sea colors. And the word dream, remember I stenciled that word dream in the middle of that page? That triggered me selecting this. I did shrink this down because I wanted to keep that word dream visible. Play with where do I want this to go? And then once I finalize my decision, I'm just gluing it down with fluid matte medium. Now remember, there's texture paste underneath this, so it's not lying flat. So you may want to use gel medium. Sometimes gel mediums work better, but definitely the matte finish. Now this, I didn't want to cover up any part of the word dream, so I am attaching it to the circle, but like I said, I'm trying to avoid the word dream. And my placement hid the outline of the circle. And I wish I had been a little bit more aware of that because you can't really see that circle. But I was paying attention to one thing and I forgot about the other. And the reason I mention that is as you are art journaling, as you are creating, it doesn't always work out perfectly. The joy comes from doing it. I create because it's good for me. So I might have just used the word dream alone on this if I knew where I was going to end up. So if I was going to do this on a canvas or do this again to perfect it, I have several things that I would maybe do differently. And I always analyze. Here I'm edging again because last time I edged it with Prussian blue and I want it a little bit darker. So I'm using black. Now that I am where I am in the page and I see all the things working together, I'm making those final finishing decisions. So you really can't see that circle anymore so much on the bag because of how I placed that starfish. If I just moved it, half a centimeter this way, it would have been totally, totally different. Now I'm shading on the outside of the starfish. So I'm shading actually on the page just to make it stand out a little bit more. Slowly but surely. And each addition adds to the overall final effect. So the starfish prompt pointed me in direction, of course, ocean, and I did put, I used the focal image. So there's not a whole lot. It's very straightforward. There are quotes with starfish as well. I chose a more ocean themed one. Where the prompt takes you makes it exactly right. It doesn't matter if everybody is going to get it or if, the goal isn't somebody looks at your page and knows instantly your prompt because maybe it's not right there. I'm shading around the sentiment as well. Now I'm grabbing my thinned gold paint. This is the same paint that I splatter with, and I'm giving a wash of gold to the starfish. The gold is rather translucent, so the orange color still shows, but now it has this wonderful metallic shine to it. But in doing that, I lost some of the detail. I'm peeling off that masking tape, and you can see it's still, because it's the composition paper, it does pull back, even though I tried to make it less tacky. And at this point, I thought I was done. But then I decided, you know what? I wasn't happy. I lost that circle there, so I'm just adding another circle. It isn't over till it's over. So I'm using my Stabilo All pencil, drawing another partial circle on this corner, and then I'm going to use shade around it like I did with the other one and make another circle just to add to the page. It just looked like something was missing. In the final analysis, in the final, when everything was done, said and done, I just wanted to do something, I needed more. This kind of makes it, instead of under the sea, it kind of makes it look like a night sky with the planets and the stars. Do I want another one? Nope, I opted. Nope, I am not going to put another one. Not enough room. Some of the markings on the starfish were missing, so I grabbed the sea creature stencil and of the starfish, and I'm just adding those markings. It's just adding that little bit of interest back in, and it just disappeared because I did that wash of gold. And there we have the finished page with the prompt starfish. Check out Ninny's Napkins if you're looking for a prompt pack or you're looking for digital sentiments. There's a lot to pick from. Until next time, go get creative. Now I have some other ideas that I didn't use here. I still have this written down. I can use this on any project. Love working from the pick a prompt.